Hello, dear students. In today's lecture, we will have discussion about security in a wireless ad hoc network. Uh, so here, if we can have a look that what kind of security we have. So let me explain it here on the whiteboard. Uh, while talking about the security of a network, we have different categories in security. Number one is the network security. Then onward inside a network, we have node security. Here in mobile station, we can have the base station security. While in the other network, we can also consider it as a server security. Beside that, we also have information security. You can say the information or data security. And another important category is the link security, that the link on which your data travel from source to destination or from node to node must be very secure. So these are different categories that we considered for security of our information, for security of our network, and for security of our node and link. So coming here, as we discussed earlier, that ad hoc networks are a very dynamic network where the nodes continuously changing their topology. There's no centralized control. We may do some makeshift arrangement to select or elect some node as a cluster head or a group leader and give them some extra responsibility. But as you know, that with the dynamic nature and continuously changing their location and their position, it is very difficult to ensure the security of these nodes. So in the start, we actually have these journal information about ad hoc network that we already discussed. So we just move on to the important information related to security. So here you can see that security in wireless ad hoc network is very difficult as compared to static network where nodes stay at one position for the longer time. The dynamic nature definitely take some extra measures to ensure connectivity of different nodes which are moving from one location to another location. So few of the most important aspects here are the vulnerabilities of these links between different nodes. Similarly, limited physical protection of these nodes as they are moving and changing their position continuously. Similarly, sporadic nature of connectivity, which is not ensured every time. You might have connectivity for some time slot, and for some other time slots you may not be able to connect. Similarly, the surrounding node may have different location in next time clock or in next time pulses. So therefore, you might not be able to connect with those nodes. Then the same comment is dynamically changing topology. Another important thing is, as we discussed earlier, is the absence of certification authority and lack of centralized monitoring and management. So as we have centralized servers and service authority are firewalls in static network which ensure uh, different types of security aspects in those networks. So here you can see that wireless network and the links are highly susceptible to different types of attack. We might have passive eavesdropping, where different attacker might access some secret information and violating the confidentiality. If we discuss about the types of attack here on the whiteboard, so we have two types of attack. One is active attack, and another one is a passive attack. So in active attack, you destroy the resources of a network. While in passive attack, you just observe. You observe different activities of a network. Of the node inside the network. So this attack is more like a spy attack, that you observe different activities on the network, and later on, in some stages, this passive attack actually converted to active attack. So therefore, initially it becomes a passive attack, and later on it is converted to active attack, and it started destruction of user information, user resources, user data, and some other thing. Similarly, we can have the active interference, which allow the adversely to delete messages. So if you have a look over here, this is some sort of active attack where you destroy different messages of a user. Then leakage of some secret information, that while observation, you find some secret information and you send it to some other node, which might be an enemy of this node. Then onward, data tampering, inject erroneous message to modify a message. This is again an active attack. Then impersonation, impersonate a node, and identification of communicating node, that you actually use someone else's identity and pretend that you are actually that node. Then message reply and message distortion, which is also a type of active attack. And moving onward, we might have the DOS attack, which is denial of service, in which you engage the link, you engage the server, you engage the centralized authority, and it might not be able to provide service to other user. Then eavesdropping might give an adversary access to secret information, violating the confidentiality. So you provide access to some attacker to the secret information of that network. You might prevent application of a standard technique of a network in general, and one of the most important thing is Byzantine failure, in which you are authentic and legitimate users or nodes are engaged, and they're working for the attacker. So that Byzantine failure is very dangerous. And as you know, that we discussed about active and passive attack, where passive attack is very difficult to identify, very difficult to detect, while you can easily detect active attack, and even you can fix it very easily by identifying the attacker. So there are certain vulnerabilities in these networks, and you can also see here that because of the vulnerable nature of these networks, we have some additional challenges which may be addressed to secure these networks. Here, the first point is encounters the routing protocol, where set of nodes could compromise in such a way that incorrect and malicious behavior can't be directly noted at all. So you may have given some extra responsibility to the routing protocol as well as to the nodes, that they can identify that who is actually providing or malfunctioning inside that network. Compromised node may seemingly operate correctly, however, they may have flaw and make inconsistencies in routing protocol to undetectably distort the routing fabric. These malicious nodes can also create new routing messages and advertise non-existent link, provide incorrect link, state information, and flood other nodes with routing traffic, thus inflicting Byzantine failure on the system. So that is actually the mechanism that you misguide other nodes, you provide wrong information, you polluted their memories and their routing table, and then onward, the whole network is corrupted with the wrong information. So any node who want to send data will be misguided and will be and the data will be sent to some attackers and some malicious nodes. So no part of the network is dedicated to support individually any specific network functionality. For example, routing, naming service, certification authorities, directly and other administrative service. So all these things are actually available in our traditional network, but we don't have any such mechanism in the ad hoc and mobile network. If such services are assumed, for example, in these ad hoc network, then we might ensure the availability of a network. Availability can't be actually guaranteed in such a dynamic nature and dynamic topologies because nodes are continuously moving from one location to another location. Similarly, the congestion of link may also create some problems. And these congested link actually close to the node acting as service, and it might be some sort of DOS attack. If you keep the link closer to the server or the centralized device much busier, then it will not be able to provide service to the faraway nodes. Similarly, absence of infrastructure and absence of authorization facilities impede line of defense and distinguishing nodes as trusted and non-trusted. So one mechanism might be that we can register nodes before deploying it or before giving them some authority to join a network is trusted and non-trusted node. And similarly, we also have some security policy based on which we can check the credential of any node who want to join a network. The security term in computer network, as you know, that we use for traditional network, and over there the security mechanism is very strong because we have everything static and we ensure that who is actually going to join, who is sending to whom, what kind of data is sent, at what time the data is sent. We properly install firewall, we properly install some extra mechanism to ensure security of nodes, of server, and of the complete network. So therefore, it is easier in traditional computer networks instead of uh, mobile networks. So, with respect to some security needs, the most important thing is availability, where you should ensure availability of service, availability of nodes, that these nodes may respond on time. And similarly, they also have a mechanism that in case of any failure, that they might take some action against those attacks and resolve the issue at that location as soon as possible. Another security need is authenticity. We should confirm the authenticity of every node. Each node which want to join the network, we must have a look to the credential of that node and ensure that first he should identify himself, and then onward after identification we allow him to use the services of that network. The next security need is confidentiality, where prevention of intermediate and non-trusted node from understanding the content of the packet. And as you know about that, it is also related to authenticity, Once we ensure the authentication, then confidentiality is a simple process. If authentication is sure and we allow user to have access to the system or the network resources and network information, then based on that, we can also ensure confidentiality. Another security need is integrity. Messages or packets are not modified in transit, and we must ensure that the actual data or actual packet that is generated by the user must be delivered to the final destination. So message could also be corrupted due to some radio propagation or some channel disturbance. So we must ensure the data or information integrity. Then non-repudiation means that sender of a message can't letter deny sending those information. In normal email service, if you have a look, we are using some sort of digital signature for every email where the sender cannot deny that he didn't send this information. So receiver can show them the proof and the sender node cannot deny that he didn't send that packet. When a node receives an erroneous message, it can prove and convince other nodes about this compromised node. So this might help other nodes inside a network that one of his colleague or friend or group member or network node is compromised, so they must be very careful while getting or receiving some information from that. Now, as we might receive some email from other email addresses, so even the email server gave a message to a user that this user or this email address doesn't exist in your contact list, or it doesn't exist in the email addresses related or assigned from your organization side. So even the Gmail as well as the UMKC server give you some notification about those emails which come from outside and they are not available in your contact list. It means that you don't have any history with them to communicate or to share message. Another security need is ordering. Updates received from routers are in order and a sequence that show correctness of routing protocol. We might receive out of order messages, and that is an extra burden on different nodes. That first they ensure order of these packet, and then onward they can process it. So out of order packet delivery also shows that some data is corrupted, some data is missing, or someone is engaged on the link to delay your information or to delay your message. They might have done some tampering or some modification inside your packets. So next security need is isolation. The protocol must identify misbehaving node and make them unable to interfere with routing. As we discussed about the Byzantine failure, that sometimes there is possibility that one of your authentic, authorized, or legitimate user may compromise and it works for the attacker node. So you should identify that node and then onward you can isolate him from the network and then start some special observation of that node that you can find him guilty and then punish him accordingly as per law. And timeliness, the timely delivery of routing updates, as you know about that any compromise or any delay in information might be very dangerous, specifically in real time communication, or you can say that in hard deadline systems, we cannot afford any delay. So late messages may not reflect true state of the link, and it also show that some of the nodes are creating some intentional delay that you may not take any action against the culprit, against the attacker. If a node relay information between two large connected components is advertised as down by a malicious neighbor, the large part of the network become unreachable. So look at this, if even you send some wrong information that the network is down, or sometime if the network is available and you share some wrong information with other nodes, so it can create some disturbance. There might be a possibility that the network is up, the network is down, actually down, but you didn't disseminate this information that this part of the network is down to other nodes. So other nodes will send data to that part of a network, and a attacker can grab those information and misuse them anytime. Then onward, we have authorization. As authentication, we have another mechanism for authorization as well, that we check the authority of these nodes. Either these nodes are authorized and they have some specific credential to prove themselves. And then lightweight computation, we should ensure that we don't have too much power on these nodes. So we can't go for traditional public key cryptography and some other security infrastructure. So we should ensure that there must be limited computational algorithm who spend less memory, who spend less computational cost or processing power and energy for these nodes. So therefore, we must design some specialized algorithm for these mobile nodes. Then location privacy information in message header is as valuable as the message itself. So location privacy by itself is anonymity of these nodes, that the node who is receiving or who is actually going to launch a malicious node attack or man-in-the-middle attack, they might not know about the location of that sender node. So routing protocol should protect information about location of nodes in the network as well as the network structure. Then self-stabilization, which is another security need. Routing protocol generally automatically recover from any problem in finite time without human intervention. So self-stabilization means that if there is any problem inside a network, in a node, then the network should take some action to recover that node or recover that part from the damage or from that attack. This is also some sort of fault tolerance mechanism that we normally use inside a network on distributed system, which means that in case of failure, in case of attack, a part of a network or a part of a system may not be able to provide service, but still the remaining part of the system or nodes are trying their best to provide services. So networks must not be vulnerable to disability temporarily or permanently by injecting small number of malfunction packets. Then we have the Byzantine robustness, where routing protocol must be able to function correctly even when some of the node intentionally disrupt its operation. So Byzantine robustness actually helps us to get the self-stabilization property of these nodes. And a routing protocol should also help in this mechanism to recover from any attack, and they ensure the correct information dissemination inside a network. Then the next security need is anonymity. Your mobile node and its system software should not be default expose any information that allow some conclusion or some other information about a user or a sender. As we discussed earlier, that the node should be anonymous and the attacker may not know about the location of that node, from where the data is coming. Anonymity by itself is a good research idea or a good research problem as well, specifically in mobile network, where we try our best to make the base station anonymous or the server anonymous, because the base station or server is a single point of attraction for the attacker that where they want to launch an attack and try to get the complete control of a network. Another security need we have is the key management. As you know, that in these mobile network we have very limited energy and limited power. So we can't go for a traditional security mechanism, but still, if there is any option that we might consider, that the services in key management should have the following consideration. Number one is trust model. How many different elements in the network, and what should be the trust level? Trust level is another parameter which actually increase as the communication is matured, as long as the node continuously communicate with one another, so the trust level actually goes up. Then we have the crypto system where we use public key cryptography, and it offer different types of keys to the sender as well as the receiver. In case of symmetric, they have the same key, while in case of asymmetric, they have different types of keys. Then another important parameter is key creation and key storage. Now, who will be responsible to create the key? Which parties are allowed to generate this key, and how they will be allocated or shared with the sender and receiver? And where these key will be stored? As in traditional network, we have the certificate authority, which ensure that the key will be stored and verified from the certificate authority. Then we have the key distribution, as we discussed on the last slide as well, that who will create these key, and then onward how it will be distributed to the owner, which is sender and receiver. And specifically, if they have a single key, then which channel will be used. The key must be kept secret and should be distributed with confidentiality, authenticity, and integrity, that it may not be violated. Another important security need is access control, and that how much access is given to the user. We might have different categories of user, and we can categorize them based on their role, based on their responsibility, and based on their position sometimes. It is quite clear that only authorized nodes should join, should leave, and should destroy any group. It means that every node may not be able to join, any node may not be able to leave without the permission of group leader, and any node may not be able to create and destroy a group as per his authority. So we have different types of approaches for the access control. For example, the first one is discretionary access control, DAC, which define access control to the user themselves. So this is actually the normal access or normal rights of every user who actually join this network. Then we have mandatory access control, which involves centralized mechanism to control access to objects with a formal authorization policy. So that can be the mandatory access control to any node, and then role-based access controls, which apply the concept of role within the subject and object. Either the node in a mobile network is a sender, it is a receiver, it is a forwarding node, it is a group leader, it is a cluster head. So these are different types of roles based on which we can assign them these access. Trust is another important need, as we discussed earlier, that trust management is a separate research topic, which is very interesting nowadays. So low physical security and dynamic trust relationship probability of a security failure may rise quickly. If a portion of the node is compromised, the user probably become reluctant to trust the network. So trust is actually based on your experience, based on your updated information. For example, if you have any history to communicate with someone, then definitely, and the history actually say something positive about that node, then the trust level will high. But for example, if that person deceive you in history and he don't have any good record with you in the history, then the trust level will not be the same and it will automatically goes down. Sometimes there is possibility that your trust on any node may be based on the experience of someone else. For example, if a node send you a giant request, then you check his credential, his history with the surrounding nodes, with the surrounding networks, with the surrounding cluster head and group leader, and then you take a decision. And the very good example of this trust is your credit history. Is in US, credit history is considered as one of a parameter that how much a person, a bank, or someone else can trust you. And moving onward toward attacks in wireless ad hoc network, attacks are in different categories. Some might be, as we discussed, on information, some might be against the node, some might be against the controller or the base station or the server. So attacks on basic mechanisms such as routing, attacks on security mechanism and key management mechanism. Similarly, as we discussed about active and passive attack, either you are only observing the information on the channel or on the link, you analyze the traffic, you sniffing some uh, confidential information, or you actually destroy them. So these are activities. For example, you are involved in replication, in modification, and deletion of data, where adversary actually takes certain action. So the two major categories are passive and active attacks. Then we might have some external and internal attacks. In external attack, it is very easy to know who is the attacker, and you can have a firewall or you can have some additional mechanism based on which you can observe traffic that come inside your network. While on another side, internal attack which are more secure and your legitimate user are actually involved in these types of attacks. Internal attack is a type of passive attack where your node are working for the attacker nodes, and initially it is very difficult to detect and to identify the malicious node inside your network. But then later on, you have certain observation against every node, and there is a complete check and balance system. Once there is any clue against any node that he is misbehaving, then you actually take some extra or additional measures to observe his activities. And once it is proved, then you actually take the proper action and remove him from the list of users, or sometimes you can reduce his access to some confidential and secret information inside a network. So another attack is DOS attack, as we discussed earlier, that we might have a distributed DOS attack where you can distribute attack on multiple nodes, and they actually come up with different types of queries and block the complete system for the legitimate user. That no one else is actually taking or have access to the service, and the malicious node actually block the link as well as access to the service. These types of attack also create some additional congestion on the link, which prevent legitimate user to get some useful information or to get some service. Similarly, the compromise node reconfigure routing protocol that they might not be able to send correct information or to share correct information with the other nodes. Then the impersonation that we discussed earlier, and disclosure and trust attack. So these are actually different types of attack that we discussed earlier as well, that modification, and then onward, changes of information tampering. So we should take some corrective action and make someone responsible to take care of these activities. So this is a short lecture about security, and then if you have any question, you can ask now. So thank you so much from my side, and if you have any question, you can ask.